We're going to start with a topic that we've been discussing at some length this morning, and it's a topic that the Division of Investment Management and OCIE have been collaborating on quite a bit. The topic of whether there should be third-party examinations for investment advisor firms. That is, whether investment advisors should be required to hire a third party to conduct an examination of themselves or review of themselves and submit the report to the SEC. I know you have been collaborating on this potential rulemaking, and so Dave, I'm going to start with you from the Division of Investment Management's perspective. How are you approaching the concept of third-party exams, and what are the potential objectives of the rulemaking?
So third-party exams, look, you have to start, and Marc can share his perspective on this as well, but I think when you sit where we do, or you sit where Chair Wyatt does, and you think about the things that keep you up at night, touches with our investment advisor community, they're just one of them. It's been one of these things where, look, I mean, Marc's people do an amazing job at getting to people and with their risk-based thing, and Marc can explain that all far better than me. But I think even with all that they do, we have got to do anything we can to make sure that we have touches with all of you, and that's really at its root what this whole thing is about. Now, as I'm sure many of you know, the Commission has thought about this concept a number of times over the years, and obviously it doesn't exist yet, but I think what we're doing as we come to it sort of with this go-round is trying to learn our lessons from what happened with those previous runs at it, and look, there's a lot of questions around it. If you're going to do it, how do you make it as effective as you can? And so things like who would do the exams, what would they look at? I mean, these types of questions are exactly what my team and Marc's team are kind of batting back and forth as we figure out, as we work on the recommendation for the Commission that Chair Wyatt has asked us for. So I guess that's kind of my start with this.
Reminding you the comments that we make here are our own, don't reflect those of the Commission, the Commissioners, or the staff members. If my wife were here, she'd tell you I don't speak on her behalf either. But as Dave mentioned, one of the big risks that we have within OCIE is the 10% coverage ratio. And if you'll indulge me, I just want to remind people that that's the number of registrants we actually cross the threshold and conduct an exam for. And there's a misperception within industry that the other 90% go unlooked at. And I can tell you that is nothing further from the truth. To me, that's like going into a $2 billion equity long short manager who has 100 stocks in her portfolio and saying, well, Karen, you have 100 stocks, you must have only looked at 100 companies. Well, we all know what you guys do and your teams do every day, right? They take the whole investable universe, they then apply filters to get down to that subset of investments they want to do additional due diligence on, and then they do that due diligence and then invest in those companies they think have the greatest chance of meeting the criteria that they want for their portfolio. Well, if you think about it, we do the same except in reverse, right? We're looking at the tails. We're looking at those behaviors that we think represent the highest risk to investors. And Dave's right. I have the fortune of working with some of the most dedicated, creative, talented people I've ever worked with in my career. But based on the numbers game, well, last year we were only able to get to 10% of it. So anything that the Commission's able to do, and I'm going to use Chair Wyatt's words here, to supplement, not supplant, to supplement the work that OCIE does, is going to be welcome from us. So if it's additional information that can help us sharpen our pencil to increase our risk-based focus, it's going to be welcome. So let me also put my 3-word plug in if you don't mind. If you think about OCIE going forward, I'm going to ask that you always think about us with 3 things in mind. We want to be transparent, we want to be risk-based, and we want to be data-driven. So Chair Wyatt said it very well at SEC Speaks. Hard work and hard data. That's how we're going to try to fulfill our mission. So
OCIE's new tagline.
I think so. According to Chris, we should put a commercial out there, but I don't know if we're going to do.
Well, and obviously the discussion originated because of the coverage ratio, if you will, and the need to touch more advisors and increase the exam coverage. But there have been recent announcements, and we'll get to the numbers in a little bit, about OCIE hiring hundreds of additional examiners, including new examiners and shifting existing examiners from other parts of the exam program, in addition to other initiatives that OCIE is undertaking to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of the program. Do these moves to enhance the oversight program, which, by the way, we support OCIE in shifting resources to the investment advisor realm and enhancing the investment advisor exam program, because not only is it important for investors, it's also important for overall market confidence, and it's important for the reputation of the industry. We really need to have a strong exam program, and we think the SEC should be the ones that the government function. It's a government function. We think the SEC should be the ones doing it. So given that SEC is shifting a lot more resources to the advisor exam program, does that give you pause on the third-party exam proposal? Should there be some period of time to study whether these moves make a significant difference in the program? Dave, I'll start with you.
I would say that we are studying that right now, right? I mean, clearly that's part of the deal that's going on, and so of course we are studying it. It's very relevant to the thing. Now, I think that, look, that's going to ultimately be up to the commission about whether, it's paused and let it go for a while, or we go, but I would say that work continues on it, and we're studying it as part of that work. I guess that's how I would answer the question. I don't know if you have anything more to say.
Well, you all know that the chair's gone up to the Hill and pounded the table to get additional resources for the SEC in general. She's been very generous with the allocation she's provided to OCIE. We have taken the resources we've been given and allocated them, right? I come from a risk-based background, so I'm going to allocate it where I think we can mitigate. I didn't say eliminate. I said mitigate the risks that are in the program. So we've taken those resources and we put them, as you mentioned, the 70 new examiners that we had that went into the IAIC space out of 91 that we had. I would remind people that onboarding in the SEC takes some time. So as a matter of fact, just today is the last day of our new examiner training. So that new class came in, they all came in November and December. So the achievements we were able to get with the increased exam numbers across the program, which is a 5-year high, which was, it's great for we're not settling there, stopping there. Now with the proposal to reallocate additional resources from the BD program over, it's roughly, if you do the math, right, that's a 20% increase. So I think based on the aspirational goal the chair has, I don't think that's going to get us there. And so if you ask us to say, what else can we do to supplement that? We're always trying to be more efficient. We're always trying to do more with less. I think what we've done with the President's Exam Initiative and then shifting that, what we're doing with the cybersecurity, just be more efficient and get more touches, that's our goal. We want to be thorough, so we're not doing it sacrificing the quality of the exams that we're doing. But I don't think, even with all the efficiencies we're able to achieve with the limited resources reallocation that we're able to get to, that's going to be enough. So, with additional information that we're potentially going to have to enhance our risk-based analysis, it will really let us get to a better risk-based program. The additional information will go a long way for us to continue our process of efficiencies.
Well, let me follow up that point and ask you, what kinds of information do you think you would be getting from these reports, and how would the reports play into your risk analysis? So, for example, if a third party were to write up a 50-page narrative on the firm's compliance controls and program, how would you be able to process 11,000 of those across the universe and feed that into your risk analysis?
Well, there's no free lunch, right? We're going to have to dedicate additional resources to whatever format that information comes in. We're working closely with the policy side of the house to say this is what would be helpful for us. This would help us get to those high-risk areas. So we have the staff, we'll continue to dedicate them to be able to provide that. But again, I'm going to go back to what the chair said, and I believe David said it when he was testifying, is to supplement, not supplant our judgment. So it's going to be information they can collect that we can then analyze to supplement our risk-based program.
So are you looking at gathering objective information from third parties versus subjective opinions about the compliance controls, given that objective?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the key policy questions you have going on in trying to decide. And, you know, that's where our guys are talking with Marc's guys about, okay, so, you know, whether it's, you know, on the substance of a particular issue, objective, subjective, or of the format of how to collect it so that it feeds into them so that they can slice and dice it in a way that works best for their program. I mean, that's the work that's ongoing right now amongst a lot of people at the Commission.
And there's a lot of people, right? DEER is involved, and having been relatively new to government, I have to tell you, if you've been in a big organization, I've worked at a number of huge global financial services. The amount of dialogue that happens across the various divisions is impressive. If there's an expert in a given area, we have unfettered access to them. And we deal on a daily basis with our colleagues in DERA, policy, trading and markets, investment management. So it's getting the people who are issue experts together in a room to try and figure out what the best way with all the constraints that we have, getting to the best answer that we can.
So given that these third-party, we'll call them exams, reviews, I've heard a lot of different terminology about what they could be, are to supplement the exam program and not to increase or add to it or replace it. So they're not going to affect the statistics in that sense. How are you going to assess the costs and benefits, and whether the benefits will outweigh the costs, which are obviously going to be substantial for all the folks in the room here?
Well, so one thing I would just say is I mean, it depends obviously on how it gets, but I think it will, I don't know if it'll affect the statistics necessarily, but it will affect the story, right? The touch story, right? That's what we keep talking about, is the touches with people. So whether it's technically an exam or whatever the name ends up being called, that's the point, is that we have more touches on advisor registrants, more data coming in to Marc's folks to do their thing with. Look, on the cost benefit, I mean, Marc just mentioned DERA. I mean, this isn't unique to this rule, right? I mean, every rule we do now, the amount of energy and time that is spent on costs, benefits, economic impacts, data that exists about those is, I mean, it's extraordinary at the Commission. And you know, I encourage you. Obviously, it's hard for you all to comment on it without, you know, understanding the scope of the proposal, right? Which is the point of the whole public comment process. But assuming this goes forward and there is a public comment, I encourage all of you to, in particular, focus on this cost-benefit issue, because it's critical for us. You know, we want to calibrate it in a way that, you know, overall, the cost and benefits shake out, that we go, yeah, that's a move forward, right? As opposed to something else.
When it's not lost, right? The average registrant has, and Dave will correct me, like $320 million and 8 employees. Okay, so it's all that's taken in consideration, not by us, but by Dave's team and DERA. So they're looking at slicing the information in all ways possible to make sure it's as impactful as possible, yet not prohibitive.
Well, we certainly will be commenting on that, needless to say.
I would expect nothing less. The comments go to him, by the way.
Fair enough. Yeah.